you want to impress random dudes at the gas station and make your passengers think that you have a misfire? If you do, make sure to stay tuned because today I'm going to show you how to do the ghost cam tune on your N54 powered BMW using TunerPro and MHD. Now, I've played around with this a few times before and I decided to not run it probably after like the first day of using it, only because it's pretty annoying and the whole car shakes. But I guess one of the upsides is it does sound kind of cool. So let's go over the whole process and I'll show you what to do right now. You're going to need a cable like this with an adapter like this, or the MHD Wi-Fi adapter, and you're also going to need a laptop as well, MHD, and a license to flash a custom tune. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is download TunerPro. TunerPro is the software we're going to be using in order to change the tune settings and the tables that we need to get your car sounding like it's chopping. So we'll go over to tunerpro.net, link will be in the description below, go over to Downloads, TunerPro Applications, and then you can download the free one over here, because that's all we'll need. Since I already have it installed, I'm not going to show you the setup process, there's no need for me to do so, but what you can do is accept all the defaults, install it anywhere you'd like, and then it will ask you to restart. Just restart when it asks you to do that, and then we're going to need to come back to the website over here for the next piece. And while you're using your computer, make sure to go over to Terminator.com and get yourself an EKP active cooling kit. We make one for just about every application, and if we don't, you can always go over to the Contact Us form, fill that out, and let us know what you have, and we can work with you to create what you need. So once you have TunerPro downloaded and installed, we're going to need to go ahead and download a definition file that fits your DME's hardware version. So we can go to Downloads, Definitions, and go over to BMW XDFs. Click on that, and even if you have an MSD81, you'll still use MSD80 and a 54. So now what you're going to need to do is figure out what hardware version you have, and you can do that by following these steps. So what we're going to need to do now is take this and plug this into our OBD2 port, which is right under the driver's side footwell, and once that's plugged in, plug it into your phone. And once you have it plugged into your phone, open up MHD, and then we're going to go over to codes, we're going to read DME codes, we're going to look at where it says HW, and ours is IJEOS, and you're going to need to remember that for the XDF file that you're going to need for TunerPro. Now that you know the hardware version that you need, you can go ahead and select it from one of these here, or if you're like me and have flex fuel, you'll need to go over to this folder here. We'll select this, go into XDFs. I happen to have the IJE0S, so I'm going to click into this, and once that's opened, I'm going to copy raw contents, and then I'm going to open up Notepad, paste the raw contents into the Notepad, and then we're going to hit File, Save, and then in here, we're going to select all files, and I already downloaded this and saved it as flexfuel.xdf. Just make sure that you name it whatever the file name is over here in GitHub, because that'll make it much easier for you to remember whenever you need to go back or update it in the future. So we're going to hit Save. I already have that. Yes, we'll overwrite that. And then we can close out of this notepad. Now we're going to need to open up TunerPro. So once you have TunerPro opened up, you won't see this parameter tree with these tables in here. Because I use TunerPro before, I have this loaded in. However, to get these tables to appear, what you'll need to do is go to XDF, select XDF, locate the file that you just created. Here's where the one that I just did is. And we're going to hit Open. And now we have all of our tables loaded, but before we do anything, we're going to need a bin file. So if you have a custom tune and you have the bin file already on your computer, go ahead and hit File, Open Bin, and then locate that bin file, and then it will populate into here, and then we can mess around with the stuff in here. If you don't have a custom tune, you can generate a stock bin file from your DME by doing the following steps in MHD. Once you have your cable connected to your phone, open up MHD, and then go to stock over here, and then generate updated stock file. What this will do, it will grab information about the DME, and create a file which you can edit for tuning. And if you don't have a custom tune, this is the file that you're going to use in order to create your ghost cam effect. Take a note of where the file was stored, so then you can grab it off of your phone when you connect it to your computer. Once you have that bin file generated and downloaded onto your computer, you can go ahead and do the same process, File, Open Bin, locate the bin file. We're going to go with this one because this one does not have this changes just yet. So we will open that. And now the tables that you're going to need are in Vanos and in Ignition. So in Vanos, we're going to go exhaust idle warm, exhaust idle or intake idle warm, timing main. We can put these all over and around here. just to make it easier to see them all if your monitor is large enough to do so. Just a quick disclaimer before we touch anything in here. You're doing this at your own risk. I'm not responsible if you mess up your car in any way, and I would suggest not even touching any of this stuff unless you're a tuner or you know what you're doing. That being said, let's go ahead and start modifying the values that need to be modified. What we're going to do to make life a little easier, instead of editing each cell one by one, we're going to go over to function here, and we're going to make sure that fill with value is selected. And on this first exhaust idle warm table, we're going to want to put 101.6 in here, which is already populated. It will not be populated with that value on yours, but go ahead and put that up there now. So we'll be editing from 16 to 30 down to 1500 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the 16, we're going to drag and highlight all of this, make sure this rectangle is all highlighted, and then we're going to hit execute up here, and it's going to replace all those values with that value there. Now let's go over to the intake idle warm. So again, make sure you have fill with value selected over here, and for this value what we're going to do is we're going to put in 100.0. So for here, for the intake, we're going to go from 16 all the way to 40 this time, and then down to 1500 as well. And then make sure once you have all those highlighted, double check that those are the correct cells that you are in, and then hit execute. All those values now get changed. Now the last thing you're going to do is go over here to timing, and we're going to be changing these values to 17.5. So from here, we're going to go from 13 over to 30, all the way down to 1000. So 13 to 30 here, select, go all the way down to 1000, and hit execute. That changes all those values there, and now the most important thing you're going to need to do is hit save. So save that one, save that one. You might have noticed over here you see intake idle cold and exhaust idle cold, and if you wanted to, you could change the values here as well. And what that would do, it would allow the car to start making the cam sounds as soon as you start it up. However, in my experience with doing so, the car takes quite a while to reach temperature because the cold idle speed almost never gets up to what it needs to do, and the car may shut off a couple times and you may have to restart it until it's warm enough where it can sustain idle. So I don't recommend messing with this at all. You could change the same values and kind of find a sweet spot of what you want it to be like, but for now, we're just going to leave this alone, and I recommend doing the same until you feel comfortable enough that you've done this process plenty of times or where you can change things around in here. Once we have everything that we need changed, what I always like to do is hit File, Save As, to know that we have a new version of it, and we're going to just save this one as just a number larger or whatever one that you want to save it for yours as. And I'm going to hit Save, even though I've already done this before, but we'll overwrite this. And now we're going to take that new modified file and we're going to put it on our phone and then go over to MHD and flash it in the car. So once you have your custom tune file ready to go, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to MHD. We're going to make sure the key's in and the ignition is on. Then we're going to go over to tune, flash a custom map, and you can browse to wherever you have your file located on your phone. Mine is here in my downloads along with some memes. So we're going to select our file here. It's going to contact the DME and we're going to put some options on. I currently have a flex fuel kit, so I'm going to make sure that that's selected. I'm going to make sure everything else here is right. I don't want burbles. I don't need the cold start noise reduction. And I have the 3.5 bar T-map sensor, and I have PR race coils. So just make sure that all of these are what you need as well. So we'll go back, and then we'll do a long right, which will take quite a while, so I'm not going to film that whole part, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And you're going to want to be in airplane mode, unlike me right now, and this is going to take some time. So if you don't have a really good battery, make sure you have a charger on it. Even if your battery is good, a charger is always recommended. If the flash was successful, you'll get the following message. And at this point, what you need to do is turn your ignition off, take the key out, wait about 30 seconds, and then try to start your car. Okay, so now that flashed, we're going to put the key into the ignition, and we're going to hope it starts. All right. Perfect. Most of the time when I flash, I'll get a 4x4 error, and then you just have to turn the wheel from lock to lock and that will go away, or you just have to drive about a few feet. So in this case, it did not do that, fortunately. And if you notice right now, there's no cam sounds because, well, we only adjusted for when the engine's warm, and right now mine's pretty cold. And when you go to start yours will be cold as well. So when it gets up to operating temp, that's when the cam sounds start. So let's get an outside view of what that sounds like. It's still warming up since it is pretty cold out right now. Now that it's mostly warm, it's still warming up a bit and kind of switching back and forth. If you have a stock exhaust, you really won't be able to hear this effect very much, if at all. But if you have a non-stock exhaust or a cutout, you'll start to hear it quite a bit. You'll notice that the RPMs will fluctuate as well at idle, and the car will kind of shake. And your passengers may mistake this for a misfire. You can kind of play around with everything a little bit and change the sounds how you like with the trial and error. And this is kind of how the settings that I showed you will sound like when you do yours. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, share it with a friend if it might be helpful for them. Remember to subscribe because I'll have more DIYs and fun stuff coming up soon. I got to take this thing down the track and see what it does. I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm sure you guys are as well. And on top of all that, remember as always, keep it foul.